Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything is going the same way, which it always does. Right? Even in the days that things feel different, there's a way of being that we experience. And see the little duckies out there having a good time, getting funky while I fill up their pool. And this video is going to sound a bit more out there, but I do a lot of social media consulting for people. I had a client over yesterday, and working in the herbalist field and wanting to just share her message really authentically, and kind of aware of a lot of the pitfalls of social media. And something that I like to tell people is, no matter what other people are saying, no matter what other people are expressing, and this is how it works, and the algorithm, and I feel like now there's so many like people that are like teaching other influencers, like, oh, I got 100,000 followers on TikTok. Let me tell you how it is, and this is how you get famous. And I get it, I totally get all those things. However, in this world of constant change, the minute somebody captures something, the minute they say, oh, this is how it works, it's gone. And I think we don't see that. We see that on like subtle levels, but we don't really see that on the bigger picture. And I'm going to talk specifically today, and you're going to have to open your mind up maybe a little bit to understand this, or to maybe you'll get defensive or not believe me or think I'm crazy. And that's all fine, because this guy knows. This guy knows what's up. Hey. I'm going to let the goats out. It's going to get a little crazy for a second. Their arrival into the day is always something. Hey, everybody. Hi. Did you sleep well? So, in this life where we try to know things, right? We've got people out there studying religion and politics and science. And while I can really appreciate science on many levels, while I can really understand and value empirical data, scientific theory, and all these concepts, I see how science just becomes a new religion in so many ways. It just becomes this thing where people just take it to be blind truth. But if you look at the heart, I go deeper into this in most of my books, but if you look at the heart of what I'm saying, science is trying to prove things. And people say is actually science does a very good job at disproving things. And they're like, no, there's this whole system set up. Unlike religion, there's a whole system set up to check and to validate. But no matter what science says, everything is just a theory. Everything is this is the leading theory that we're experiencing right now. This is the way that we believe it to be. And look, it works. Look, you can do this and this, and you have this outcome. But science is constantly disproving itself, right? What we once thought was true, oh, the world was flat. That's obvious. Everybody believed that. And then somebody comes along like, that's obviously not true. And a lot of people still believe that. But the majority of people are like, no, the world's round. There's a million reasons why. But then something else like quantum physics comes along. It's like, actually, well, maybe that's true, but the world is actually a hologram. The world is energy, and it only exists because the observer makes it exist, and somebody else will come along after that and disprove that too, right? So here's the thing about science that isn't talked about often is when you're living from this way of being part of some sort of data system that everything is constantly being challenged and checked, we're always gonna change what we believe, right? And 100 years from now, it'd be crazy to think that what we believe now that they're still going to believe, because science is always trying to better itself and trying to check itself. But the tricky part is that your mind has to be okay with that. It's almost this sort of discord or something. Your mind is like a double think experiment where your mind has to say, okay, I know that what I believe to be true right now in tomorrow, 100, however long, or 100 years might not be true, but I'm still going to believe it right now. And scientists often forget that on some level, and they speak as though this is truth. You see this in videos all the time, and in books it's like, oh, it's been shown, or it's been proven that. But like, we hear the word proof, and we take proof to be truth, or proof to be this infinite, ultimate thing of like, well, there's proof, there's scientific research and proof that this thing is true. But as we know, people manipulate data. People's minds actually create the outcomes of things, and when you think about something like quantum physics. So because of that, we're constantly being, challenged on what we believe, but because the ego is, what's driving the car for most people, the scientist is like, no, I did this study and I disproved you, and it turns out that I'm right, and my information and my facts are right. So we take right and we take proof to be truth, and we see something and then we hold on to it like that's true, and then we find out, a couple years later, that it turns out that wasn't right, and we're like, God damn it. But no, this is true now, because what they said was wrong isn't true, but now this is true. Even though we know, part of us knows that in however many years, what is now true is not going to be true. And it's kind of a mind screwer, if you will, because when you really allow yourself to be in that space, how can you believe anything to be true? And I'm not saying there isn't value to truth, and there isn't value to science. To know how things work in this moment can be very helpful, very beautiful. But on a deeper level, if we understand that these things are always changing, it can be very challenging for people to make sense of the world, because you kind of have to lie to yourself a little bit. So what I always look for is, what's the ultimate truth? And when you shed away all the false beliefs and narratives and stories and characters, you arrive at this place of recognizing that no belief is true. And it can seem daunting, like, oh, life is made up and it's meaningless, and it can seem scary and sad and depressing. But to me, that's actually the most freeing thing. Because from that place, you're not trying to be anybody. You're not trying to exist as anything. You're not trying to prove anything. You're able just to kind of merge into the whole. Animals, trees, they don't go on empirical data. They don't have to study how to grow. They don't need to biohack and take special things in order to become. They have the seed has the genetic makeup and the information and the intelligence and the understanding to actually create itself, and it knows how to do that. And yeah, humans are different. We have consciousness, right? We can think. And even though we're discovering that trees actually and plants can communicate and feel and think and do all this crazy stuff, and maybe humans are different in some way, we can change and we can evolve and we can adapt in a different type of way. But at the same time, we're trying so hard to follow other people, because we're like, I don't know what's going on. This person, they've got a podcast and they're reading books and they're smart and they're got their book languages and talks and stuff, and man, I must follow them. And they tell me that if I wake up at this time and I eat this special thing and I do this special exercise and breathing technique, then I'm going to become this whatever thing. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe so, maybe not. I'm not against trying to do things to better your life. However, if we're constantly trying to find the new thing and we go from this thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, it can just leave us really burnt out and leave us really confused. So the real intention of this video is to just remind you that no matter what other people say out there, information is always changing. And if you can tune into what makes sense to you, if you can tune into what actually is true in your own life, and yes, that is the duck pond being filled up right now. It is kind of loud. If you can make sense of what's true to you, what's coming through, and block out the noise and tune in. Which is why we say when we host retreats, we say, sacred rest. Sacred rest isn't just resting, lying in a bed. It's like resting from all the noise, resting from the trying to be, from the trying to heal, trying to fix. When we go to that place of just being and listening, oh man, the things that happen are pretty amazing. And the things that open us up to new possibilities by just being present, you can never really like put a value to that, right? Because what is more than understanding your own mind and being able to listen, being able to decipher what's going on, and not just like listen to this news source and this podcast and this video and just talk about stuff, right? We can tune into what's real for us, what's in our heart, what's in our soul. This amazing magic just starts to open up. It starts to unfold. It starts to make sense, and it allows us to sync up with the universe. And we realize that we're not separate, but we are one. We are a piece of this great and giant thing. That's pretty much all we know.